Imagine standing at the check-in counter, your bags are packed. You've been looking forward to this cruise or family reunion for months. And the agent looks at your passport, looks at you, and says those 4 words no traveler ever wants to hear. I cannot let you board. It sounds like a nightmare, but for thousands of seniors across the United States, this is becoming a reality starting this month. We are officially in 2026, and the rules of the game have changed. The days of showing up with a passport that isn't expired yet and expecting to fly are over. If you're over 60, you've probably spent decades traveling with a certain level of ease, but the digital Rubicon we've just crossed means the requirements for your paperwork are stricter than they've ever been in our lifetime. Before we dive into the specific changes that could cost you your entire vacation fund, do me a quick favor. If you value staying informed so you can keep exploring the world without the headaches, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me keep these updates coming so you don't get blindsided by some fine print regulation at the airport. Now, let's get into why your current passport might be useless, even if the expiration date says 2027. The first and most dangerous trap hitting seniors right now is the 6-month validity rule, and I cannot stress enough how many people are getting caught by this. You look at your passport and see it expires in 4 months. You think, great, I'm only going to Italy for 2 weeks. I'm well within the limit. In the eyes of the gate agent in 2026, you are already expired. Most international destinations, especially across Europe and Asia, now strictly enforce a policy where your passport must be valid for at least 6 months beyond the date you plan to leave that country. Airlines are being fined heavily for boarding passengers who don't meet this criteria, so they aren't taking any chances. They will deny you boarding at the gate in New York or LAX before you even get a chance to argue with a border official overseas. If you haven't checked your expiration date against your return flight date lately, pause this video and go grab your passport right now. If that window is less than 6 months, you need to start the renewal process today. Second, we have to talk about the brand new TSA Confirm ID fee that just kicked in. If you've been following the news, you know that the Real ID deadline finally hit and the grace periods are over. But here's the kicker for 2026. If you show up to a domestic security checkpoint with a driver's license that isn't Real ID compliant, you know, the ones without the gold star, TSA isn't just going to give you a warning anymore. They have introduced a $45 identity verification fee to use their new modernized system to prove you are who you say you are. It's called TSA Confirm ID. While it might get you through the line this time, it's a $45 tax on being unprepared, and it's valid for only a 10-day travel period. For many seniors who haven't made it down to the DMV to update their license, your passport is your only free way through security. But if your passport is tucked away in a safe because you thought you only needed it for international trips, you're going to find yourself reaching for your wallet at the checkpoint. Third, there is a massive crackdown on what the State Department calls materially impaired documents. This is a fancy way of saying your passport is too beat up to fly. Think about it. If you've had your passport for 8 or 9 years, it's seen some things. Maybe it sat in a humid drawer, or the edges are starting to fray, or there's a tiny bit of water damage on the photo page from a rainy day in London 5 years ago. In 2026, the scanners at the airport are more sensitive than ever. If the electronic chip in the back cover has any trouble reading, or if the security laminate is peeling even a fraction of an inch, the airline is required to reject it. We are seeing a huge spike in seniors being denied because their passports look old. The government's stance is that a passport is a high-security document, not a souvenir. If yours looks like it's been through the ringer, don't risk it. A renewal is much cheaper than a lost flight and a forfeited hotel reservation. This leads us directly into the issue of blank pages, which is our fourth major point of concern. Back in the day, if you ran out of room for stamps, you could just have the State Department sew in some extra pages. Those days are long gone. If your passport is getting full, you have to replace the entire book. But here's the 2026 twist. Many countries now require at least 2 to 4 completely blank pages, not just space for a stamp, but entirely empty pages, to allow entry. If you're a frequent traveler and you're down to your last 2 pages, you are effectively out of space. Airline check-in systems are now programmed to ask the agent to physically count your blank pages for certain destinations. If you don't have them, you don't fly. It's a heartbreaking reason to miss a trip, but it's one of the easiest things to check before you leave the house. Fifth, let's talk about the new digital border systems that are officially live this year. If you're heading to Europe, the old system of just walking up to a booth and getting a stamp is being replaced by the EES, or Entry-Exit System. This involves a biometric scan, your fingerprints, and a facial photo at the border. For many seniors, this transition is causing massive delays. But the part that can get you denied before you even leave the U.S. is the ETS requirement. This is an electronic travel authorization that you must apply for online before you go. It's similar to the system the U.S. has used for years. If you don't have that digital approval linked to your passport number, the airline's computer system won't even let them print your boarding pass. It's not something you can fix at the airport. It can take anywhere from a few minutes to a few days to get approved. I know this feels like a lot of thou shalt nots, but the goal here is to make sure you're the person gliding through the airport while everyone else is doing the frantic pocket pat and arguing with the supervisor. We've only scratched the surface of the changes hitting us this year. Now that we've covered the heavy hitters like the 6-month rule and the new TSA fees, I want to talk about something that's catching people off guard before they even leave their living rooms. We are seeing a massive shift in how we actually get our passports renewed in 2026. The government has leaned heavily into the online renewal system, which is great for convenience, but it has created a whole new category of silent rejections for seniors. First, we have to talk about the digital photo trap. When you renew your passport online now, you're asked to upload a digital photo. Many of us think, well, my smartphone takes amazing pictures, I'll just do it myself. But the software the State Department uses in 2026 is incredibly sensitive. If there is even a slight shadow behind one ear, or if you're wearing your favorite glasses, even if they're just thin-rimmed readers, the system might accept the photo at first, only to send you a rejection email 3 weeks later. In the past, a human might have looked at a paper photo and said, "That's close enough." The 2026 AI doesn't do close enough. If you're renewing this year, my best advice is to skip the DIY selfie. Go to a professional who knows the 2026 lighting specs. It'll cost you $20, but it'll save you a month of waiting for a rejection notice you didn't see coming. Second, let's look at the digital gatekeepers for Europe and the UK. For decades, Americans could just fly to London or Paris with nothing but a passport and a smile. As of early 2026, the rules have officially changed. The UK now requires something called an ETA, an electronic travel authorization. It's about £10, and you apply for it on an app. If you don't have it, the airline won't let you on the plane, even if you're just connecting through Heathrow on your way to somewhere else. And then there's the big one: ETS for the rest of Europe. While the full rollout has been a bit of a moving target, by the end of 2026, it will be mandatory. Here is a bit of good news, though. If you are over 70, the fee for ETS is actually waived. You still have to do the paperwork and get the approval, but it won't cost you the €7 or €8 everyone else has to pay. Just don't let the free part trick you into thinking you don't need the form. You absolutely do. Third, we need to address the medication paperwork gap. This is a big one for my fellow travelers who rely on a daily regimen of prescriptions. In 2026, border security in countries like Japan, Greece, and even some parts of the Caribbean has become much more stringent about what's in your pill organizer. It used to be that as long as you had a pill bottle with your name on it, you were fine. Now, they are looking for a direct match between the name on your passport, the name on your flight ticket, and the official prescription from your doctor. If you use a pill minder or a plastic organizer to save space, and you don't have the original labeled bottles or a signed letter from your physician, you could find your life-saving medication confiscated at customs. Some seniors are even being told they need an import certificate for common pain relievers or sleep aids that are considered controlled substances in other countries. Before you pack, check the Traveler's Health section of the State Department website for your specific destination. Before we move on to the actual survival kit of documents you need to carry in your carry-on this year, I have to ask, have you ever had a close call at the airport? Maybe a name misspelling or a forgotten ID? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be the exact warning someone else needs to hear today. And if you're finding this breakdown helpful, please share this video with your travel group or your family. Keeping our community informed is how we all keep traveling safely. Fourth, we have to talk about the middle name mystery. This sounds like a small detail, but in 2026, the automated systems at the gate are looking for an exact character-for-character match. If your passport says William Robert Smith, but your airline ticket just says Bill Smith or William Smith, you are going to trigger a manual review. In the era of frictionless travel, where computers are doing the checking, that manual review can take forever. If the flight is full and the gate agent is stressed, they might just tell you that your documentation doesn't match the manifest. When you book your flights this year, make sure you are typing in your name exactly as it appears on that blue book. Don't use nicknames and don't skip the middle name if it's printed on your ID. Fifth, let's discuss the shift in consular access. In 2026, many U.S. embassies are moving toward a strictly digital appointment system. This means if you lose your passport while you're abroad, you can't always just walk into an embassy and get an emergency replacement the same day. You have to navigate a website and wait for a slot. This makes it more important than ever to have a high-quality color photocopy of your passport's main page, as well as a digital copy saved securely on your phone. If the worst happens and your physical book is stolen, having that digital proof can cut your waiting time in half. The world is getting more connected, but it's also getting more bureaucratic. It feels like every year there's a new acronym to learn: ETA, ETIAS, Real ID, TSA Confirm ID. It's easy to feel like the fun of travel is being buried under a mountain of digital forms. But here's the truth. Once you have these 5 or 6 things checked off your list, the actual travel experience in 2026 is faster and smoother than it was 20 years ago. You just have to do the homework first. We've talked about the big rules and the digital paperwork, but now I want to give you the final countdown checklist. These are the things you need to do exactly 48 hours before you leave for the airport to ensure that no 2026 regulation stands between you and your vacation. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of 90% of the people who will be arguing at the check-in counter this week. First on the checklist is the chip test. Your passport has a tiny electronic chip embedded in the back cover. It's what makes it a biometric passport. In 2026, many airports have moved to fully automated gates where you scan your own passport. If that chip is damaged or won't read, the gate won't open. Now, you might think your passport is fine because it looks clean, but magnets in purse clasps, wireless chargers, or even being sitting too close to your smartphone for years can sometimes demagnetize or corrupt that chip. A quick pro tip. You can actually download a free NFC reader app on your phone to see if your phone can talk to your passport chip. If your phone can't read it, the high-tech scanners at the airport might struggle too. If you're worried, this is the time to make sure you have that physical backup and that you've arrived at the airport early enough to talk to a human agent. Second, let's talk about your liquid medical survival kit. We all know the 311 rule for liquids, but for many seniors, 4 ounces of a necessary liquid medication or a specific saline solution is a requirement, not a luxury. In 2026, TSA and international security are being much stricter about exempt liquids. You are still allowed to bring medically necessary liquids over the limit, but here is the trick: do not leave them in your bag. Take them out, put them in a separate clear bin, and tell the officer before your bag goes into the X-ray, "I have medically necessary liquids." If they find it during the scan and you haven't declared it, it triggers a manual bag search that can add 20 minutes to your wait time. Worse, if the label is missing or illegible, they may not let it through at all. Third, you need to verify your digital footprint. Remember how we talked about the ETIAS for Europe and the ETA for the UK? 48 hours before you fly, log into the official portal and print out the confirmation. Yes, I said print it. I know we're in the digital age, but if your phone battery dies, or the airport Wi-Fi is spotty, or the airline system isn't talking to the government system that morning, having that physical piece of paper is your get-out-of-jail-free card. It proves you did your part. While you're at it, make sure you've enrolled in the STEP program, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It's a free service from the State Department that tells the local embassy where you are. In 2026, with the world being as unpredictable as it is, having the government know how to find you in an emergency is just common sense. Fourth, double-check your return ticket evidence. This is a sneaky one that is hitting seniors on one-way cruises or long-term stays. Many countries in 2026 will not let you board the flight to their country unless you can prove you have a flight out of their country. If you're planning on figuring out the return later, the airline might deny you boarding right there in the States. Always have a copy of your return flight or your cruise itinerary handy to show the agent. They aren't trying to be difficult. They're just making sure they aren't responsible for flying you back home at their expense if you're turned away at the border. Fifth, let's touch on a new 2026 protection that actually works in your favor. Accessibility rights. If an airline changes your aircraft at the last minute, which is happening more often as they modernize their fleets, and the new plane doesn't have the same level of accessibility you booked, like a specific type of restroom or aisle space, you now have the right to refuse that flight and get a full refund or a seat on the next available flight that meets your needs. Don't let a gate agent pressure you into a situation that is uncomfortable or unsafe just because the flight is ready to go. You have more leverage in 2026 than you've ever had before, but only if you know the rule exists. If this video has helped you feel a little more confident about your upcoming travels, please hit that like button one last time. It really is the best way to make sure this information reaches other seniors who might be at risk of losing their hard-earned vacations. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you're the first to know when these rules shift again. Because if there is one thing we know about travel in 2026, it's that final rules are rarely final. I want to leave you with this. Travel is one of the greatest rewards for a life of hard work. Don't let a barcode, a missing stamp, or a new fee steal that from you. A little bit of preparation this week means a lifetime of memories next month. Grab your passport, count those pages, check that expiration date, and then go out there and see the world. You've earned it. I've put together a 2026 travel cheat sheet in the description below with links to the official ETIAS and TSA sites we discussed today.